start this over, but karma has reached its balance as far as scripture and, more importantly, YahUah is concerned. Now, the punishment was levied even against the innocent, and that's what the Gentiles have yet to comprehend. And there's still certain ones that are trying to war with the seed of Yahshua. That's why Father says he's going to come back and deal with the wicked in them, because they went too far. If you read 3 Nephi 16, 10 through 30, I think it is, you'll hear it. Like I said, Ode of Solomon 38 speaks volumes about the previous age compared to what we're doing now, that this is the mistake. But it's also used to balance out the karmic cycle. You know, the scales of justice are now tipped square again. They're even. Like I said, they're actually leaning a little bit to the left because of, they want to hold on to their traditions, one part of the family, and this crosses every color line. There's some traditionalists that want to hold on to their fable. They don't want to recognize revelation on prophecies that have occurred and align it with historical events that suggest and show the truth of it. But we're going to try and get them past their foolishness, and hopefully they won't be willfully ignorant. But listen to this young lady, and what she has to say is very pertinent about where we're at. And I'm going to back this up some.
Never is the 3 waves of volunteers. We get thousands of emails now since I've done Coast to Coast and Project Camelot saying, I know I am first wave, I am second wave. They're identifying with it because they said for the first time it makes sense to them. Their whole life they have felt something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. And now it begins to make sense as we start giving the, what I want to call, not the symptoms, but the characteristics of the 3 waves. But to know about the 3 waves, I'm not going to have time to go back to the whole beginning, but it has to do with the ETs and the way they have watched over the earth since it was created, because they're the ones that created us, and the seeding of the planet Earth. And they've been there all through Earth's history, watching us and taking care of us. And whenever something was needed in our timeline, they would supply it. Like whenever we learned about fire, we learned about agriculture, all of this was brought in at those times. And every time something is supposed to be in our timeline, a new invention or something, they help it to get here. And in the old days, they were thought of as gods and goddesses because they lived among the people to teach them what they were supposed to do. Now they can't do it.
Now, what she's talking about is the Yahudim elders when they were up in Europe. And like I said, there was 2 types primarily. There was many in between, but primarily the 2 sides were the righteous side, which had all of the power and influence, meaning they had the mystical powers. And then there was the other side that were bigoted, wicked. They came in every hue too, but majority of them were black skin and brown skin too. And there were some bright skin that sided with them because of the riches. They were considered wealthy, but there was infighting there too. But primarily, it was the very black skin that sold humanity out using their technology and they chose to forego communication with Father because they knew they was doing wrong. They knew they were doing wrong. I don't care, you mistreating women and children and doing all kinds of crazy mess and being a bigot and acting all supremacist. You know you're doing wrong. I don't care who you are. Okay? The material junk is irrelevant. People are priceless. Money and things are worth far less and quite useless without people around to exchange it. To buy all of the things that manifest from people's imaginations, from their ideas that is culminated in a new product or service. So without the people, the things that you covet wouldn't even be here. And you never know who's going to deliver what the human family needs as a whole. That's why people are priceless. Each and every soul.
so that whenever something is needed, a new idea, a new invention, it has to be in our timeline, it is put into the atmosphere. And then whoever invents it gets it. They don't care who does. And you know, there are many people all over the world working on the same invention at the same time. Well, this was going along rather smoothly because they said a lot of times they would give us something and we turn around and use it for the wrong reason. And you got to remember, this was a planet. They said, give this beautiful planet a creature with intelligence and free will and see what they do with it.
Yes.
So that's what they've been allowing us to do these things.
The grand experiment.
And the prime directive is the one on Star Trek of non-interference. You cannot interfere with the development of a civilization. So they've been watching us and observing us. And every time they would give us something, we turn it into a weapon or something like that. And I asked them one time, isn't that interference to give us fire, give us agriculture? And they said no, because that is a gift we give you at one time at your point of development. And then what you do with it is free will. And as we turn it around and use it negative, that's our free will to do that. And I said, well, can't you come back and tell them they're doing it wrong? They said, no, because that is interference. That's what's not allowed. So this brings us up to the 3 waves. Because at the end of World War II, when we dropped the atomic bomb, it really got their attention.
Now, what World War II was about was the finishing off of the Naga. That's why they dropped it on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. These were the last remnants of the Tatarian family that was living over in Japan. And, you know, they had to be transitioned. Now, here's what's funny and interesting. Because one of the bombs that was dropped on them was called Fat Man. It's a nuclear weapon, right? I have a story to tell you about that. Y'all remind me, somebody in the comments, and I'll go on to that. But right now, let's stay focused on what she has to offer us.
And if you remember, at the end of World War II was when the big UFO flap began.
Yes.
And we began seeing
the response to it in 1947, Project Blue Book, all these different
all of it
responses.
started at the end of the war.
Yes, NSA.
Because they were observing up until then, you know, shaking their heads, here we go through this awful World War II. But it was like we still had to let us keep doing what we were doing. But then we dropped the atomic bomb, and they got down here. They said, we better see what these kids are up to, because they should not have had this power yet. It was not supposed to be given to us until we could use it in the right way. It was supposed to be used positive. Instead, when it was invented as a negative for a weapon. And it will never have the energy it was supposed to have because of that. It was supposed to be positive.
Well, could a positive use have been the proper use of it for an energy supply, for example, for nuclear energy
That's what it was
supplies around the
supposed
planet?
to be.
Yes.
But we weren't ready yet to have it because they knew what we would do with it. So we got it too soon. So that's what they were worried about. Now with the prime directive, the only time they can really interfere with a civilization is if it gets to the point that we're going to blow up the world. If that happens, they would have to step in. Because if we were to blow up the world, it would send reverberations not only through our planet, but through the whole solar system, through the galaxies, and through the universes. And it would cause tremendous damage. So you would think one little planet over here isolated in this part of the solar system would be important.
But we have a multidimensional Earth, which it would have also impacted the other. Please take a drink. It would have also impacted the other dimensions of Earth.
They said that also.
Stop to think about that. Yes. So the reverberations would have felt wide and far if we had succeeded in this.
It would be as though undeclared war on the other dimensions.
Yes.
Where there other civilizations are existing. So if something like that happened, they would have to come in and stop it. That's the only way they could. So when the atomic bomb began, they were really upset about it because these kids are not going to know how to handle this. And they could very well blow up the world with it because they don't know what to do with it. So there are councils that are over all of these things. They're rules and regulations. Nothing is just by happenstance. Everything has rules and regulations that are put on it. So they go back to the council and they're telling them, oh, we don't know what we're going to do. We can't interfere. So it's like, what are we going to do? They couldn't just come in and say, stop this, because that's interference. So they said they had a meeting with the council, and it was like, we know we can't interfere from the outside. They came up with this plan that I consider to be brilliant. They said, what if we influence from the inside? So that was when they made the call, went out for volunteers to come and help Earth.
So this would have been late 40s, early 50s
yes.
then, that the first
This
wave...
is where I tried to put dates and years on the 3 waves. Mm-hmm. My daughter says I might be a little too strict on it, because some people tell me they think they are overlapping the ages that I've come up with. But it says to send out for volunteers. I'm sorry. Pure souls that have never been to Earth before, have never been contaminated. See, most of Earth, the souls of Earth, are contaminated with karma. Many lives, one after the other, contaminating with karma, have to repeat it again and again, and we're still not working it out.
Learning.
We're caught on the wheel of karma. Mm-hmm. So they said they knew we weren't going to be able to do it. We just come through this horrible war. We couldn't take care of ourselves. We can't take care of our own lives because of the repeating of karma. We couldn't do it. So the volunteers were asked to come who had never been on Earth before, never been in a human body. They were not contaminated. They were...
Now, these types of pictograms, in the way that they're showing this, the lighter man on the right here, and obviously the shadow figure on the left, suggests some interesting things. And this has been the issue for the past 500 years. The lies told to cover up Tartaria, to cover up the history, the true history, because the European family were given the technology by the Yahudim family. There's no doubt about that. Did they mess up? Yes, but their intentions were good. Okay? And they got punished for it. And their offspring are still being afflicted. All because of this cognitive dissonance with hue of skin. And this is where we need to deal with morals, character, and ethics. Because the bright skin side of my family been afflicting me, even in my own personal. I ain't got to go back to enslavement and all that old foolishness that happened then. I get it. I'm talking about just in my lifetime. These agents with their backward thinking and their ill programming and traditions have hated on me, and I'm like, you don't even know me. You don't want me being in business. Why? You mad because I made some money in business and being legitimate. What is the issue? It stole from my wife. Never mind. Anyway, they've been doing their nastiness, but hallelujah, I found Father, and that's all that matters. The rest of it he'll take care of it.